Morning everybody, so today, well, welcome back first. Today we are going to Poole, a bit of a change this one because Craig's not with us again. He's busy looking after the farm. So we're going to sail toward, well, we're going to sail east I think, but we're going to stop off in Poole along the way, just breaks it up a little bit. Unless we get really, I mean there's no wind today, so it's going to be motoring and it's going to be windier tomorrow, so I'd rather sail further tomorrow and just motor as minimum as I really need to today. So I think we are going to stay in Poole. Like I say, the wind's not doing a great deal, but we will get the sails up and we will try and do a bit of sailing, because that way we don't have to cover a lot of ground and we can go quite slow and it still doesn't matter. So if we aim for Poole, I think we should be alright then, because even if it takes us 5, maybe 7 hours, at least we'll be sailing. So yeah, we're going to just come out of Weymouth now and we're just going to get the sails up, and hopefully, yeah, like I say, get some sailing done, but we'll see. We've actually been sailing. We've had a decent amount of wind. We've had about 13 to 15 knots, which has been nice. So yeah, we've been sailing most of the way across Weymouth Bay. We've passed Lymington Cove and Mew Bay. We're just coming up by Chapman's Pool and up to the start of St Albans Head. We've been doing about 6 knots across the ground, which is nice. It's just nice to be sailing. I thought it was going to be motor sailing today, so it's quite a nice change, although it is quite cold, isn't it, summer?
Yeah.
So we are wrapped up, and yeah, we're just going to, well, the tide should be starting to come with us now, so although we're only doing 6 knots across the ground, I'm hoping that will go up to about 7 when we get a bit of tide with us. We had our breakfast earlier. The milk was frozen in the fridge, turned it down too much, but yeah, we shouldn't take us too long to get to Poole, I don't think. We've been doing good speed, especially doing like 6 knots. I thought we'd only be doing like 3-4 knots today, but I think we're still going to go to Poole anyway, because the wind is starting to die a little bit, because it's dropping down to about 10 knots now. But yeah, still on the tack without the sun, and then as soon as we get around to St Albans Head, might have a bit of sun in the cockpit, warm us up a bit. But yeah, we'll make lunch on the way, I think. So we've just come up to Dalston Head. We've done a tack around the head. We seem to be beating into the wind at the minute, but yeah, we've just managed to do a tack around the head, and that's going to take us straight to Poole, I think. Wind's dropped a little bit, but it's still moving us along around 5 knots. We were doing about 8 or 9 knots around St Albans Head. I know we had a lot of tide with us. It was a bit choppy as we was coming through the overfalls, which seems to have fixed the speed log again. Fantastic. Well, I say fixed it, it's still under reading, but at least it's reading something, I suppose. So yeah, we're hoping to be in Poole in about 2 hours maybe, worst case, because we've got to get all the way up the river. And we're going to stay at Poole Quay Boat Haven, I think it is. Yeah, we managed to get a space in there. And then at least we can get off the boat and the kids can have a wander and stuff like that. So that's the plan. And yeah, we're just going to stay there one night and then head over to the Isles of Wight in the morning. So we're just getting into Poole, busy as always. Wind always seems to pick up every time I come into the entrance of Poole. We managed to get a place in Poole Quay Boat Haven, that's it, Poole Quay Boat Haven. But yeah, we saw some race boats out in the bay. One came zooming right close to us. But yeah, we're just heading into Poole. It's a bit choppy in here now because of all the speedboats going by. But yeah, we should be about half hour away, I think, and then we'll get there. Okay, so as you can see, this morning it is absolutely tropical. That's why I'm wearing my vest and shorts. It's August and it's freezing. We're just leaving Poole. It's very gusty and windy at the minute, so I haven't got the sails up just at the minute, only because I'm deciding whether I want second or first reef. And to be honest, it's not going to help us coming out of here anyway, because all the twists and turns in the channel. So I'm just going to get past the chain ferry and then I'll probably get the sails up there, and then I'll have a better look at what's out there. I mean, I've looked at the forecast, but the past day or so it's been absolutely wrong, so I'd rather just have a look out there, see what it's doing myself, and then decide what to do, rather than mess about with reefs once I'm already out there. So yeah, hopefully we're going to head towards Lymington today. That's the plan. I'm hoping for a bit more northerly of wind, because that means we'll be mostly on a beam reach, and like I say, that means I can have more sail up. If it's more on the nose easterly, then I want to put a bit more of reef in, because we've got about 25 knots of wind, so yeah, that's going to be fun going through the needles. Yeah, well, we'll see what we're doing out past the chain ferry, and then like I say, we'll decide what we're doing sail plan wise. Right, so we're just going through the Needles now, well just the start of the Needles, just passing the lighthouse. I'm actually motor sailing up through the Needles only because the wind is pretty much channeling straight down it. I mean I could tack up it, but just can't be bothered. When I say we can't be bothered, it's just easier to motor sail up there. We've had a bit of a rough crossing, haven't we, kids?
Yeah.
So
okay, though.
yeah, it's been all right. So we've had a good old sail across the bay. We've been doing about 6 knots sort of thing, with 2 reefs in the main and about half of it we're out. Yeah, like I say, we are motor sailing up through the Needles, but with the motor on it just gives us a better angle towards the wind, so we can actually make good course across the ground rather than tacking and zigzagging all the way up the Needles. And I kind of just want to get through the tidal gate rather than have to fight against the tide or anything like that. So yeah, we're hoping to go to Lymington. Wind wise it's doing like 25 pushing 30 knots at times, but like I say, it wasn't too bad in the bay. I was kind of debating whether I should have took the north channel, but because it was just pretty much slack tide here, it's not too bad at the minute. But that's what I mean. I just want to get through the Needles rather than let the tide build against the wind as well, because it will get rough in here very shortly. So yeah, if we can get through this bit, we'll be sailing again in the Solent, I think. But yeah, just need to basically get by Hurst Castle. Yeah, but we're doing all right. Go, Summer. Go. Beth, run. So we just left Lymington this morning and we're going to head east. Might go to Cowes, we don't know yet. We'll just see how far we get, because the wind's on the nose, so no fancy beating all day again. It's not very choppy though, but we have got a bit of wind. So depending on which way the wind's coming from, we'll decide where we go, I think. And if we can get to Cowes without doing too many tacks, I might go to there. If we can get a bit further, I might go to Portsmouth, but we'll see. That's the plan anyway. We've got about 15 to 20 knots of wind, which is enough to get us sailing. I'm just debating whether we do full sail or first reef, but I'm just going to decide just as we get out of Lymington, because it's always different than it is in the marina. So, and forecasts this week have never been accurate. So yeah, we'll see what it's like out in Solent, and then we'll decide what we're doing sail plan wise. We spent the night in Cowes last night. It's quite bumpy and rolly, so all the swell was coming in. We didn't go too far up Cowes, we only stayed at the Yacht Haven on the South Basin. Today we're just going with the wind today, so it's going to be a lot nicer, I think. And we're heading towards Yarmouth. If anything, I've got to put a reef in just to slow us down, I think, because we're going to be there too quick. Yeah, so we're just catching the last of the tide, so we couldn't really leave any later. But yeah, I mean, we're doing like 6 knots at the minute, so I've got a single reef in the main, don't really need it. We've got about 17, 20 knots of windish, but because we're going downwind, it's only about 15 knots anyway with the boat speed. So yeah, we're doing all right, but like I say, we've got a bit too much speed on her, I guess. I'll have to fill the Genoa in a bit more. otherwise we'll be at Yarmouth before we can actually get in. I need to get there really after 12 to actually find a space in there. So yeah, that's what we're doing at the minute. It's nice and flat in the Solent, no choppy waves today, we're not beating into the wind, so everything is nice and calm and steady on board, which is a bit in contrast to what we've been doing over the past 3 days. Yeah, we went for a bit of a walk yesterday, didn't we, kids?
Yeah.
Went to the park, and that was about it really. Watched the rest of the Hunger Games. We've been on that this week, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we're going to watch the rest of that tonight, I think. And yeah, it's a lot warmer today now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You might notice as well I bought a new coat. That's because I got so fed up with my old one. The zip kept breaking. Well, it never used to zip up properly. I think the zip had gone, and it had finally given up yesterday coming up here. Yeah, and it just wouldn't close properly, so I decided to buy a new coat. I think it was about due time, I think. But it's a bit too warm now. I'm not used to this warmth. I have to take some layers off again. To make the most of the easterly winds, we decided to sail all the way back from Yarmouth to Weymouth in one go. The wind was forecasted to do 25 to 30 knots, but it ended up being around 25 knots all the way. This meant we was able to do a cracking speed all the way back to Weymouth, around 6 to 8 knots depending on the tide with us at the time. We were surfing down the waves, which was quite nice, and we had one reef in the main and just some Genoa out. I later had to put a second reef in the main as the wind picked up as we got across Weymouth Bay. All in all, it was a good day sailing there. We didn't film too much on this journey just because I had some problems with the autopilot I needed to start trying to fix, and I was more concentrated on fixing that rather than filming, and as it was just me and the kids, I had to hand steer most of this way anyway. Catch up with us again soon, because I'm sure we'll be out making videos again shortly. Until next time.